there is not discrimination going on when it comes to placing children in foster care or placing foster children for adoption. Unfortunately, that law is regularly flouted by our child welfare agencies and by family courts. If you talk to foster families, they hear people talking in court about their skin color. Child welfare workers under their breath are talking about how the race is really not a good match. These are people who won't know how to do a kid's hair. I mean, it's really quite outrageous because since the Multi-Ethnic Placement Act was passed in the 1990s, tens of thousands more Black children have been able to find safe, loving, and permanent homes, which is, of course, what every child needs.
Yeah, every child needs that. And from what I understand, there have been studies done, Naomi, that show that it does not disproportionately affect, or there's no adverse effect at all whatsoever, no negative effect on children who have Black children placed with white families, vice versa. I mean, there's nothing really with skin color that has a negative impact on these kids regarding how they're placed or what family they're placed with, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, adoption is always a traumatic event. It means that something terrible has happened in your life that you need to be adopted. But once you compare Black children who are adopted into white families versus Black children who are adopted into Black families, you see no difference in the outcomes. And so you will get individual people who will say, like, I wish I had been adopted by someone of the same race. But for the most part, people want to be and need to be raised in safe, loving homes. And we need to do that in a timely manner. The foster care system, operates right now on the timelines of adults. So you have family court cases where it could go on for months or years at a time. The average amount of time a kid spends in foster care is 20 months. And for some kids, it's upwards of 3 or 4 or 5 years while we wait around for parents to get their act together. That's an adult timeline. If you say to a 3-year-old, come back and we'll see your case again in 6 months, that's a huge amount of a child's life that is being frittered away, basically, in our bureaucracy.
This is awful. And now this is all becoming part of the bureaucracy, completely unneeded. What does this do to kids, and how many more kids are deprived of being raised in a secure, loving family because we're having to deal with, I guess, this wokeness aspect before their actual well-being?
Sure. Well, there are about 440,000 kids who are in the foster care system now, and about a quarter of them have had their parental rights terminated or are in the process of that happening. But a lot of the kids who are eligible for adoption are kids who are older, kids who are in large sibling groups, or who have such severe mental health or behavioral challenges that it's very hard for them to find an adoptive home. Now, one reason for that is that we allowed them to go back and forth in multiple foster homes, sometimes dozens of foster homes, back and forth to their biological parents while we waited for their biological parents to get their act together. Now, one thing you should understand about the foster care system is that it is really driven by our country's drug crisis. And so many of these biological parents are affected by addiction and mental illness. And, we should feel sorry for them. They have had a very hard life, and we should give them many, many chances to kick their addiction. The question is, how long should we make children wait for them to do that? And we know, just based on, neuroscience, how important it is, especially for young children, to be able to form that secure attachment to an adult, to know that they can depend on an adult to meet their physical and psychological and emotional needs. And when you tear them in and out of homes for the first few years of their lives, you're destroying those possibilities for them.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking because I know that we have kids that, I mean, there are a lot of kids that just age out of the system that never find that home, that don't have that family and that secure attachment. And it's just heartbreaking to see that now this problem is compounded by this. And one last quick question for you, Naomi. I mean, we have a law against this, but yet we have people that are openly essentially flouting what this law states. I mean, where's the accountability?
There is no accountability, and I think that our legislators really need to start asking some very difficult questions about what is going on in child welfare agencies and family courts. More than one foster family has told me they feel like family court is like a kangaroo court. They have no idea what the laws are that actually apply. They're told that they can't even speak up, even though foster parents have a right in most states to speak up in court. And they're the people who are obviously seeing the kids most often. So we really need some accountability. We need more people to become involved in the system, involved in foster care, becoming CASAs, court-appointed special advocates, to represent the best interests of the children. We need more middle-class, responsible Americans to be watching the system because it is not doing what it should.